Secretary-General, UN staff have repeatedly been told that they are the most important resource of this organisation. Since December 2015, the staff here at the Vienna International Centre have been exposed to off-the-scale electromagnetic radiation from Wi-Fi and mobile phone boosters installed on very low ceilings throughout the buildings. Current public exposure levels are at least 1 quintillion, that's 18 zeros, 1 quintillion times above natural background radiation, according to Professor Olle Johansson of the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. The highly dangerous biological effects of EMFs have been documented by thousands of studies since 1932, indicating that we may be facing a global health catastrophe orders of magnitude worse than those caused by tobacco and cigarettes. Mr. Secretary-General, on the basis of the precautionary principle, I urge you to have these EMF-emitting devices removed immediately from these buildings and to call a halt to any rollout of 5G at UN duty stations, because 5G is designed to deliver concentrated and focused electromagnetic radiation in excess of 100 times current levels in the same way as do directed energy weapons.
Obviously, these hardware systems are causing quite a lot of problems to the trolling factory. The troll factory, the very illogical trolling of the street lighting technology, it's starting to get a bit of a problem for them. So they're full at it all over the place. So what I'm going to do, because obviously a lot of lay people are starting to understand that these controllers and the antenna boards are not for controlling the light systems. All right, they're not light controllers. So let's just break some of that down today. But also, a chap confronted some lighting guys the other day, and what they were telling him was that they had been told, as a matter of fact, that the LED, these bare element LEDs, were actually a risk group 1. All right, the risk group 1. That's what they've been told, because obviously anybody, there's quite a lot of technologists now starting to understand that the dangers of this light system, it's pretty lethal. So obviously he'd confronted the light guys, and they said that the lights were definitely a group 1. All right. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring this to people's attention. Right. You see there, this was actually taken from a light system that was based in Gateshead. All right. And what it actually says there, this is off the manufacturer, by the way. See there, quite clearly, that's not a 1, is it? It looks like a number 2. Quite simple. Now, a lot of the light systems haven't got these on, but there are quite a few that do have them on, and they should have them on by law, because obviously risk group 2 LEDs are extremely toxic. They're toxic to this is the equipment here, but what I'm going to tell you, these are not risk group 2. All right, they're not risk group 2. They are more dangerous than that. All right, what makes them a lot more dangerous is the ability to weaponize the signal by changing the pulse modulation. All right. So people have to understand that what they fitted in the street lighting is not street lights.
We want you to focus on right now is that little black device on top, that little black nub that's sticking up from the light itself. Now that is what's going to allow the city to get brighter. The lights will soon be monitoring more themselves.
We are moving in a smart city direction, and it's really exciting.
City engineer Wayne Martin says they can already control these lights through these black nodes on top. They transmit wirelessly to a central system through these boxes around the city.
We turn the lights down in the park so that people can enjoy the fireworks, and then as soon as they're over, we turn them back on.
But in 6 to 12 months, the UK-based company Talensa plans to send the city updated nodes. They'll be free, part of a pilot program, and here's the cool thing, they'll be equipped with USB ports.
So what we can do is then we can plug in some other device that collects data and transmit that data back to our control system.
Those sensors could monitor traffic flows, air pollution, flood levels.
There's ideas of monitoring public trash cans to determine when they're full and ready for pickup.
But no video. That's too much data. Martin says they're not trying to be Big Brother, just trying to make the city brighter.
They're just masquerading as a streetlight. These are toxic to all biological life. All right. Very low amounts of power, by the way. But we all know that LEDs are driven with small amounts of power. All right. But it is the frequency of the light and the pulse rate of the light. It has nothing to do, right, with the amplitude or the level of light that you're exposed to. It's actually the frequency that causes the harm. Now, I know quite a lot about that. Unfortunately, for the cabal, the people who are fitting it, right, I know quite a lot about that. But here's another interesting aspect. We've had a lot of people, fools, who keep mentioning about the capacitors and the capacity. Well, here is a bank of capacitors, right, with a 3,300 watt relay. Now, the reason why they need a 3,300 watt relay is because they can pack a massive punch, all right? It's got an arm switch, it's got a modulator, but it's also got what's called a supercapacitor, and that is it there. This is not to control the LEDs. It's not an LED. That thing in the middle is an antenna.
Wireless service providers continuously strive to increase network capacity to serve more subscribers with higher capacity. However, service providers operating in 3.5 GHz licensed bands are challenged by lack of spectrum and the moderate capacity of existing WiMAX point-to-multipoint systems. Service providers operating point-to-multipoint in license-exempt bands also find it hard to deliver SLA due to the adverse effects of signal interference from third-party systems. Looking to redefine the performance of broadband wireless access, Radwin 5000 Jet, a point-to-multipoint solution with disruptive smart beamforming, was introduced to the market. Jet beamforming solution is formed from an array of antenna elements that are combined to generate a narrow and steerable beam for increased system gain, ultimately boosting capacity and range. Interference immunity is greatly improved as a result of replacing the wide beam of common sector antennas with a narrow beam. Together with Radwin's unique air interface, Jet assures SLA services in noisy spectrum where conventional solutions fail to operate. In typical point-to-multipoint deployments with a wide beam antenna, adjacent beam sectors overlap, creating a high level of self-interference that reduces user capacity. Unlike typical sector antennas, Jet Narrow Beam reduces self-interference between adjacent sectors and nearby sites to a minimum, achieving greater network capacity through unmatched frequency reuse. When line-of-sight conditions are compromised, Jet Smart Beamforming Antenna automatically chooses the optimal beam direction for the best link over a reflection or diffraction path, empowering service providers with wider coverage and better infrastructure utilization. Radwin 5000 Jet has been selected and commercially deployed by leading carriers worldwide. Service providers that are new to Radwin can easily upgrade their networks to Radwin 5000 Jet for best industry performance. Service providers already operating Radwin 5000 solutions can seamlessly boost network performance by deploying Jet base stations that are backward compatible with existing Radwin 5000 subscriber units. Radwin 5000 Jet is a superior and future-proof point-to-multipoint solution for wireless access and backhaul connectivity.
This is one of the ideas behind the smart meter, where they put them in everybody's homes. They can watch every single person in their house. They can watch you go to bed, they can watch what you're doing in bed. They can watch you on the toilet and in the bath. They can hear every single word you're saying. They have a machine which will measure your hormone levels. They have a machine, provided they're within 150 feet, they can measure your brain activity, and they can even tell what frame of mind you're in. Now, if they can do this to an entire population, most people would not like it done to them, but they will be unaffected. And from the government's point of view is, we're really not interested in 98% of the population anyway, but we want the 2% that could be dangerous to the American citizens. But that doesn't apply. They then go on to say, well, hang on, there's a group there that are obstructing us doing this, demonstrators. We'll watch those. And then you get to people of specific religions, and people with long hair, and people who smoke cannabis, the level comes down and down and down to the point where they're actually monitoring about 75% of the population, and they have the computer technology to do this.
This is not to control the LEDs. It's not an LED. That thing in the middle is an antenna. Now let's put that into context for the layperson. Alright, you've got 450 volt capacitors. Alright, your mobile phone, which we know with a 3.5 volt battery, can produce radiation 500% over the 1.6 watts per kilo, but obviously that would be a close proximity to you. This is a dielectric lens, plate lens. Alright, I'll show you it a little bit better. So let's just show you here. There it is. That's a plate lens. What that allows me to do is actually focus some signal at you. So I can focus a signal at you. It's basically part of a weapons program. Now, like I said before, for those who haven't seen these videos before, the definition of a weapon is something that's been designed to do harm, alright, bodily harm. Well, we already know that these at 450, 460 nanometers can do bodily harm. Alright, they don't have a diffuser. All artificial light has a diffuser, but not these ones. So ask yourself the question, why are your council fitting street lighting or a masquerade as a street light that they have already been warned causes retinal cell harm, damages the retina, to do bodily harm. Alright, the design to do bodily harm. I'm going to keep saying that because obviously there's a lot of people who have difficulty in understanding what I'm talking about. Right? It might just be the accent, or it might be the fact that they're just trolls. So let's have a look at the capacity. The capacity of this equipment to control LEDs is more than that. Any lay person can see that just by looking at these images. Alright, this is the bit that people are saying is to reduce the power energy going to the LEDs. What a complete and utter crock. Have a look at the bank of capacitors. These are 450 volts. There's a bank of capacitors, not one, a bank of capacitors. Alright, here's another design. Let's just have a look at this one. So the power capacity is massive. It is absolutely massive. Here's another design piece of equipment. So people are starting to understand that these 3,300 watt relays, that's what they are, actually work in conjunction with that amount of capacity. Massive amount of capacity on here. Alright, not as some fool says.
In the United Kingdom, a teacher, and I was a teacher is under law, a teacher is in what they call loco parentis. In other words, when a parent takes a child to school and hands that child over to the teacher is obliged by law to look after that child as the parent would. You cannot do anything to that child that the parent would forbid. It's against the law. That's the easy bit. So and they are trying this in the UK now. If a parent says to the teacher, I do not allow you to microwave my child, and the teacher does, the teacher is breaking the law, because they are in loco parentis. It has nothing to do with the other laws. The teacher is breaking the law, and the teacher can be taken to court. That's the easy bit. In the UK, to take somebody to court for microwaving, it has been estimated you need £31 million.
Many of you know I sleep under shielding, well, what I would call almost military grade shielding. I've got about 15 or 20 layers of sheet metal above my head that I also have to shield all around. And at one side of the bed, which I actually, swapped around. So I was, my head was just behind this whiteboard last night. And the shots were so violent that I could hear the shots banging, not just against the metal that I had immediately around me, but also against the entire whiteboard. And it knocked, so they wait until I'm about to fall asleep. They measure my chip implants on my scalp, and they try to wake me with just noise. And then after the noise comes a big shot into the skull. So if you're wondering why they do it that way, why first noise announcement and then shot in the skull, why not just shoot me in the skull? Well, that has to do with, first of all, the psychology of psychopathic serial killers. They like to announce it, they like to scare you, and it also has got to do with conditioning. So they try to build up, some sort of dramatic scaredness so that you'll become scared on cue, and they hope that, then they don't really have to shoot you in the head all the time. They can sometimes shoot you in the head and not always. So, you've got all this kind of serial killer games. But anyway, I realized I can today show you visual proof of this, because I realized that these guys have shot the whiteboard so hard that they dented the whiteboard. And I will show you, hang on, I have to gauge it where my finger is. Let me just shift this whiteboard here. Okay, so I checked that I can show you before. All right, can you see this? There's 1, 2, 3 shots. Now, these dents, okay, I have seen these before on the other side of this whiteboard. This whiteboard used to hang in my office in Langacher Straße in Canton Zurich, and there was one section which was full of these in one straight line, but there's about 20 of these very tightly next to each other. And when I only noticed this when I took the whiteboard down. It was brand new when I bought it. I hung it up on the wall. It was pristine. And by the time I'm moving out, the back is dented, and the dents were on the other side going inward. And they aligned perfectly with the neighbor. Those of you who follow me will know that there was a neighbor who had put up a screen on his balcony, a huge screen that I discovered by looking on Google Maps. And the screen is shielding, and there was a little outdoor, kind of like a garden house on his balcony, where I suspected he placed his weapons, because the weapons were perfectly aligned with my study. And then it was a slight angle, so the back reflection would have hit the flat, but that's exactly where the screen was. So the hut, my wall, and what looked like massive, really solid shielding were perfectly lined up. And it turns out these lines of, equidistant dents of this type, very, very dense together, line up with that balcony. Then come the dents, and then comes my head at the desk. It was one perfect straight line.
one of the things that they can't get their head round, this is a photo sensor, right, off a light, and as you'll see on there, states quite clearly, watch, it's 10 volt. Now that's what you would possibly need for a light sensor or a light switch. So people have to ask themselves the question, why, when you've got access to that smaller, significantly smaller capacitor, why you would fit these 450 volt capacitors, that's what they are, why would you fit these 450 volt capacitors on this antenna when your mobile phone can quite successfully send a signal using 3.5 electron volts? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because this equipment here is a scanning radar, illegal radar piece of equipment. Alright, nice bit of bus equipment there, nice 450 volt capacitor there, all on an antenna board. This isn't an LED. Somebody's trying to tell me that this 450 volt capacitor's got something to do with switching LEDs on. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's on the antenna board. Are these people as stupid or being indoctrinated to such a degree where they just can't even see the wood for the trees? Or have they had something to do with this deployment? You've got to ask yourself the question, because the troll factories are absolutely up in arms about these videos. So we're seeing lots of it, number antennas on there, quite a lot of capacity on that. Pretty obvious to me what it is.
From January, every citizen of England and Wales will have a new social credit score. Government and private companies may use your social credit score to make decisions about you. For example, your score could affect the deposit you're asked to pay when renting a home. It could also give you discounts when you're shopping, put you in the priority queue for a new passport, or help you access some healthcare services more quickly. Your social credit score is based on information that the government already knows: the electoral roll, tax payments, criminal records, property ownership, and travel history. If you want to increase your score, you can choose to share more personal information securely with our certified partner companies. Information like your credit card purchases, communications and health information from your phone, energy use data from your smart meter, and your viewing and listening history from streaming companies. That information helps our carefully selected machine learning systems trust you, your friends, and your family. Plus, you can get fun tips on how to increase your score on the Social Credit app. Your social credit score is also affected by the scores of the people you live, work, and spend time with. Everyone's score is public by default. You can check it on the Social Credit app so you can make informed decisions about your life. You can hide your score, but in some cases this may cause it to drop. Some things like disruptive actions, hiding your data trail, or making decisions that harm others could lower your score over time. If this happens, you may find it harder to access certain government and private services. So if you have an old housemate, friend, or relative that you don't spend time with anymore, you may want to file a formal notice of disassociation on the Social Credit app. If you're a dual citizen of Scotland or any other European Union nation, then privacy laws mean we can't give you a social credit score. Because of that, your access to some government and private services may be limited. If you're a citizen of Google, Facebook, or another corporation, please refer to their support pages for advice. Social Credit Scores from the Department for Community and Culture, helping us to help you.
this bit of hardware, quite interesting piece of hardware there, not for switching lights on and off. And this one actually has had the dew, that teardrop, it's had it removed from the scanner. Alright, so the scanner's still there, that's still illegal by the way, but they've actually had the dew removed. Now why would anybody want to remove the dew part of an antenna, right? Why would they want to remove, right, the dew part of the antenna, that bit there, because it's a cover up. We know it's a cover up, alright? We know it's a cover up, and that's the reason why it was actually cut and taken away. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to dispel these trolls, get rid of them. Right, because what actually happens, there's one site, the Stop 5G UK site, where it's going extremely well. Anybody with Facebook pages, genuine Facebook pages, delete the trolls. What happens, the Stop 5G UK group, there's over 25,000 members, and the reason why there's 25,000 members is because they're not being abused or messaged by these trolls and given disinformation in relation to this equipment. We have, in a small area of Gateshead, we've got 31,875 of these.
Our problem everywhere, in all the countries around the world, really is that we feel so alone. And we have about, 6 billion people feeling totally alone, feeling like, oh no, we can't get started because no one's going to support us. So none of us ever get started. This is ridiculous. We're all feeling like that. We all feel like, oh, we can never go up against the criminals because of this, because of that. And at the end of the day, because we're alone. But we're the vast majority feeling like that. If you just stop feeling like that and just get the fuck going, we'll realize that there are billions of us. We are all fucking sick of the corruption. We're all sick of the crimes. And we're sick of being mutilated and gunned and having our money stolen and, our children's education turned to shits with some stupid new world order agenda that's just pure psychopathy distilled. We're all fucking sick of this. So, when this realization finally hit me, that actually I'm not alone, there are lots of people out there and they're really just waiting for me to finally get my ass into gear and make the first move, I thought, this is going to be my resolution for Monday morning, tomorrow morning when I get up. I'm just going to get up every day and I'll stop feeling alone. And I'll just move forward with self-confidence, knowing that there are hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of people out there who feel just like me, who feel despair, who don't know what to do about it all, and wait for other people to do something and make the first move.
Bright lights, big city? Not if you're trying to sleep at night. New streetlights have led to sleepless nights in a Brooklyn neighborhood. CBS 2's Tracy Carrasco reports now on the light fight.
A strip mall in outer space is the metaphor I've been using.
That's how Yolanta Banal describes her Windsor Terrace neighborhood ever since these new LED streetlights moved in.
It's just extremely harsh and intense and it has this inescapable quality.
The new LED lights installed here a few weeks ago have meant sleepless nights for Banal and her neighbors. Residents say they are way too bright.
They pretty much light up the street like it's daytime.
It's like a movie set or it's like a construction site. It's just not possible to sleep like this.
The Department of Transportation is in charge of the change and tells us the conversion to LED lights is intended to help the city reduce its overall carbon footprint by 30% by 2030.
I'm very fine with any kind of changes, even if it's a bit of an inconvenience or pain.
In Brooklyn, the DOT has already installed more than 6,500 streetlights. So far, all major highway lights are in the process of being changed, along with the ones in Central Park. The total price tag of the project, about $75 million, but it comes at the cost of some residents here.
So you said it's unbearable?
I would definitely call it unbearable.
Residents tell me the DOT did come out here to look at some of the lights and adjust a few angles, but they say that's simply not enough, that these lights really need to be dimmed.
$31,875 of these. Now, if you take that in conjunction with all the other smart devices with the overcapacity, the smart phone that's been shown to have the overcapacity to harm, the smart TV, the smart fridge, the smart, everything smart, with all of this potential overcapacity, ask yourself the question, what is the plan? What is the plan for full spectrum dominance in relation to this output, this overcapacity output of this equipment? Well, I can tell you what it is. It's like I said before, a weapon, I'll repeat it again, just for those that are still not getting it. A weapon, you define a weapon, something that is designed that can cause bodily harm. These, the capacity on these is enough to cause significant bodily harm. All right. You haven't got one. We've got 31,875 in a small place called Gateshead. You have millions, in fact billions of these transmitters, these systems deployed right across New Zealand, Australia, billions of them, and the same type of capacity in the equipment, whether it be in your smart TV, all your other smart devices, because I can tell you now, if your smartphone has the capacity to fire energy at over the 1.6 watts per kilo with a 3.5 volt battery, you can see what the capacity is of these. And anybody that tells you that a capacitor is a battery obviously can't spell, because a battery is a battery and a capacitor is a capacitor, and a capacitor is a piece of hardware that can discharge energy in a millisecond. So these capacitors can discharge massive amounts of energy. They are not for keeping the light on, because obviously that's an antenna. It's not a light. That's an antenna. So what do they want to do? Keep the antenna on. Whoever's coming up with that sort of garbage is obviously deranged. Because I'll tell you now, if you cut the cable in any of these lighting systems, I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but let's say for an experiment, if you cut the power from the light, just check and see if the light goes out. I can guarantee you the light will go out immediately. So these are not batteries, because that's not what they are. That's why they call them capacitors. Because like I said, a capacitor can discharge an amount of energy in a millisecond. All right. Not what these indoctrinated fools are trying to tell you. The great thing is, a lot of people are starting to get this. They're starting to understand the existential threat of 5G. This 5G kill grid, that's all it is, in all its technical parameters, is a weaponized program.
You know, there are many people whom I can still help, but there are also many people for whom help is already too late because they have already been killed.
And there's so many of them. There's actually quite a few people who I liked very much, who have already been killed. They have already been murdered by exactly this organized crime cartel, and they have worked so very hard. And I think most people don't even know who they are. And no matter how hard we try, we can never bring them back. And you know, I just kept thinking there's so many of them who died and they were alone. They never had anybody, you know, become a patron or click like or just be there and get them out of the cage. You know, they had literally nobody there for them. And they were just killed. They were just killed in a ritual sacrifice, or they were just killed in a set-up MI6 staged murder, like Gareth Williams, for example. And they had absolutely no one. And this is something that must never ever happen again. You know? So I took this resolution, right? I decided that because I will need so much encouragement and I need so many reminders of why the fuck am I doing what the hell I'm doing, I decided that from now on, every day at midday, I'm gonna do a 2-minute silence. And in those 2 minutes, I'm just gonna remember all the people who were already murdered, who have already been killed by these criminals. And it will be the middle of the day. And that's usually when I just, you know, I mean, like everybody, I need a lunch break, but it's also when I think, oh gosh, there's still so much to do. And I'm just gonna take 2 minutes out of my time and just pause and remind myself why the hell I have to keep going. And the truth is that if we don't get our act together, if we don't keep going, their plan is to kill us all. They want to kill every single person who isn't part of their networks, who isn't a Mason or a prostitute or, you know, somebody that they can make money off. That's the truth. When I look at the genocide plans and how many people are earmarked for extermination around the world, I think that's pretty much the fraction of honest, good, and upstanding people. You know? And I think they want to create a new society just made up of, you know, easily controllable, money-driven, greedy thugs and prostitutes. I think this is at core what the New World Order is. It's the Crown Corporation just spread around the world, you know? And I can see that this is what they're working towards, because every person who is brilliant and dedicated and has been a real guiding star, I mean, they're mostly already dead, right? I always publicize the math geniuses who have been murdered, who are really a gift by nature to our world. And they just killed them one after the other in the most careless, sadistic, humiliating way. And that shows what utter trash they are and how much they value intelligent, you know, upstanding, honest people. And at the same time, you can look at the people who are earning a lot of money in the Crown Corporation and what they do. And they are basically liars, serial killers, and whores. So that's what they value. So this is what they want to create. They want to create a new society of just those kind of people. And whoever doesn't fit it, right? All the women who look like me and are not really prostitute material, but are more into, you know, physics or building companies, they just get shredded. We have to keep going, because if we don't keep going, we'll all end up like those people who were trying to protect us, who are all dead now, right? Like Gareth Williams, like Aaron Schwartz, like John Nash, like Dr. Ronnie Kilden. I can list many, many more.
The great thing is, there's a significant number of people who are waking up, and it doesn't matter how much these trolls who want to troll the internet, want to talk absolute garbage, the indoctrination of them is unbelievable, because what they can't understand is simple multiplication. Once you multiply these billions of transmitters and billions of capacitor and capacitance in the system, what you then start to realise is that densification is one of the techno parameters for 5G. That's why 5G is a weapon, because once you get that full densification and spectral dominance, then you can see how the weapon can be used. Alright, you can see how the weapon can be used pretty simply, and that's why there's a significant number of people who are waking up, and it doesn't matter how much garbage these trolls keep coming out with. That's all it is, garbage. What they need to do is build up your social media groups and get rid of the trolls, because what happens, if you look at the 5G, Stop 5G group, 25,000 members, all concerned citizens, and the reason for that is because it's a safe area for people to talk, where they're not being messaged and being told that they're idiots and all the rest of it because they've developed some illness, some either anxiety, some eye problem, some skin rash or something other from the transmitters, because they cause significant harm. And that's why we're measuring radiation levels in bedrooms in the gated area and have a massive increase, a 23% increase in stroke since this equipment was installed. And we've also had a significant number of babies dying in the womb from this technology, because it all fits with the levels of radiation that we're measuring from these transmitters, because as you can see, they are very, very powerful, extremely powerful for what they were being told is that purpose, to switch the lights on and off. Well, I'm going to tell you once again, that is not for switching lights on and off. As a matter of fact, 3,300 watt relay. The reason why it needs that relay is because of the amount of power that's going to be generated going through that antenna. Unbelievable, but the truth always gets out. Fabrication will just be, dispelled.
Intelligent evil dust scattered everywhere, like confetti in everything. So I think it's increasingly hard for human beings to work out how to deal with that. And the only way I can see is that we've got to securitize this problem. Computer security industry is it's been engaged in outrageous securitization for a very long period of time, hyping up threats, etc. I get how the game is played. It needs to be securitized in a different way. We need to securitize by securitize I mean you turn something into a threat and thereby change behavior or get economic gain from it. So we need to securitize the threat to elites by these developments. The people who run these companies, it's a threat to them. It's a threat to the most powerful people in society. And to eliminate the notion that there's a place that powerful people can hide from, or skilled people can hide from this phenomenon. And that's the way to get all those people who have an ability to make a difference, to make a difference.
Hello, Dave here with radiationhealthrisks.com. I'm outside. I just wanted to do a quick video. You can see right behind me is an office building. It's an office building that I used to have an office in. And I no longer have an office in there, and just recently they put up a huge cell tower right next to this office. I'm going to spin this around here so you can see this huge cell tower that's literally right next to where I'm standing, right next to this office building. And I'm just guessing 50, 55 feet away from the cell tower. So I've got my high frequency analyzers. I'm standing here. I'm gonna just turn this on so you can see how much radiation this office building is getting pelted with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. See there, max out the meter. Max it out again. So more than 2,000 microwatts per meter squared is what this measures up to, which is twice the U.S. safety limit, is just blasting down on this office building. It amazes me that they're putting up these cell towers next to office buildings, next to schools, all over the place, and nobody seems to care, complain, or mind. And you know, as we start this, everybody's talking about the new 5G technology that's coming out. As we start implementing that, rolling that out, 5G uses higher frequency electromagnetic radiation, and so the waves are a lot shorter, they're a lot higher frequency, like I said, and a lot more intense.
Anyone who puts Wi-Fi into a school should be locked up for the rest of their life. I really do. I think they're not fit to walk on the surface of this planet because they haven't looked at the research, and whatever incentive they have, it is not worth the genetic problems that parents are going to face with their children when they're born. And if you think of a single parent, a mother, who has a genetically deformed child, that particular mother will feel guilty because she gave birth. She will feel guilty and she will be worried every single second of every single day for her life. She will worry that the child won't marry. If the child can marry, she'll worry that the children will carry the disease, which they will. She will worry when she dies who will take care of them. So you are condemning both the family and the children to a lifetime of absolute hell.
Big disasters killing many people are actually caused by a system called HARP. That you're aware that 5G is actually an integrated weapon system that's going to accelerate the killing that's already happening, you know, because our homes are being gunned at night when we sleep, and because there are weaponized cars shooting us and our children in the head as we're walking down the street, sometimes without us noticing. You know, if you are aware of all these things, and if you are aware of people who have already been murdered by these psychopathic killers, just join me for the 2-minute silence. Let's just pay our respects every day, and let's use that to keep us going, you know, to use the second half of the day to ramp up and get even more done. Because the truth is, if we don't pull this together now, I'm not sure we'll be able to. I'm not sure if we'll be able to before we die. Before they kill us too. But then again, if we pull this off, it will be the first time in history that good people are working together across the entire planet. And that's what we need to shut down the oldest and biggest organized crime cartel that has been with us, as some say, since the last little ice age, you know, or the last ice age even. The last little ice age was in the 17th century, and this cartel is definitely older than that. So, you know, let's just reach out to all the people who feel lonely, who feel like they can't pull through without support, because there's so many of them. And let's show them that actually, you know, we're not alone. None of us is alone. There are millions of us out there, and we're all fed up, and we are all working to having this shut down.
This is a very, very serious communication I'm going to give to everybody. Right, I want you to share this with all your loved ones. everyone you care about need to listen to this. We're going to the polls soon. What I'm going to tell you, every political party you're voting for have intent to kill you. All the parties have 5G, the LED, the UN Resilient City agenda signed off, whether it be a local authority or other. You actually giving them a mandate, anybody giving them a mandate, you're giving them a mandate to murder you, to commit genocide on you. That's just as a matter of fact. The science is there, the technicalities, the increase in death, massive increase in the death rate in the US, just reported last week. Massive increases in the death rates in the United Kingdom. We can't rely on Public Health England because we know that they're part of the deception. However, look around, speak to friends, look at the deaths. Go and have a look in your local paper and see the deaths: 59, 50, 48, 30, 24, 5. The numbers are unbelievable. It's all around you. Death, genocide is being committed on you. The political parties who you're intending to hand over authority at this next general election have already signed into law that they can put those transmitters outside your home with no health impact analysis. Hasn't been any. So an uninsurable weapon system is going to pop up outside of your home, on a mast, on a street light, in a manhole, somewhere in your near location, so they can fry you to death. This is a Nazi end of times final solution plan orchestrated by the United Nations to kill you. It's called the UN Resilient Cities agenda. The smart 5G IoT LED kill grid. All of those parties have been a party to fit in this technology outside your home, in your residences, without any call or care to the detrimental health impact. In fact, a mast, a 5G mast, has just been approved by Northumberland County Council. At that council meeting, those councillors stated clearly, no health impact analysis has to be taken in consideration to stop the mast being put in. No health implications and the deployment of a dangerous piece of technology. Can you imagine if a factory owner put a piece of equipment in a factory that would kill and harm his workers? His feet wouldn't touch the ground. But the fact that the political class have you in their sights to murder you en masse, they can get away with it. That's not God's law. But you know, if you vote to keep these criminals in place, you're actually voting to die. You're letting your family down. You're letting your children down in particular. Share this video far and wide. 5G LED IoT smart city agenda. It's here to kill you. They're chopping down all the trees to kill you. They want to reduce their carbon footprint, all right. It's you. That's why they're telling you. Because they need tacit agreement. And if you acquiesce, you give them that agreement, you'll die. Make no mistake about it. The only people that survive this are those that have woken up. So wake up. Wake up. Wake your friends up. Wake your family up. Those that don't wake up, unfortunately, we can't save them. The rising of the sun is waking humanity up. And we will save enough, but only enough for the transition. This has all been prophesied. It's coming. The end of times is coming, but it's coming for those that don't wake up.